If you ever struggle with patients saying yes to an initial evaluation, but then no showing, or especially just coming in for one or two visits and then dropping off when they really need a lot more treatment than that, you are not alone. It happens all the time, but it is a huge, costly problem that you need to fix, not just for your practice's sake, but also for those patients' sake. And it is fixable. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix that issue and stop those early drop-offs. My name is Jarod Carter. I'm a physical therapist, a cash-based practice owner, and the creator of the Cash Pay Profit Formula. I help healthcare providers just like you to create their own cash-based, out-of-network, or concierge practices so that you can end reliance on greedy insurance companies, provide a level of care you are ultimately proud of, and regain control of your profits and your future. In today's episode, you're going to get a sneak peek into my Mastermind group coaching calls we have every week, where I have a client in this case who is a physical therapist in the CrossFit niche, and he's struggling with this issue of patients saying yes to getting started and then dropping off after just a couple visits, because as we know in that niche and many others, people start to think, well, I'm good enough, and they just want to push through their workouts. And so you'll hear me coaching him on exactly what to do about that, because solving this issue actually happens before they've come in for their first visit. It's either on the phone or in an initial in-person consultation where you can really nip this thing in the bud. And this is not just about CrossFit niche, right? This is about any niche or any time when you feel like you have that patient who's saying yes, but they kind of got one foot out the door and they might drop off or they might no show. This is going to be perfect for you. You're going to learn exactly what to say so you can stop this problem, ultimately increasing your profits and your customer lifetime value, but also increasing the number of people that you serve at the highest level. Those people that would have dropped off at 2 or 3 visits, but you got them to 100% because you did what you're going to learn here in this video. And as a bonus, you're going to actually hear the story of when I met my wife for the first time, who was way out of my league. And I used the strategy you're going to learn here to get her to go on a first date with me. So a little bonus in the second half of the video, you'll get that. Now, before we dive in today, I do have a free resource for you, and it's called A Simple Script Flip that turns uncommitted prospects into fully committed patients. And you can download it at drjarodcarter.com/episode 1. This is literally going to be the scripts distilled down from what you're going to learn in this video, kind of taking a lot of the context and other side lessons that you're going to get and just having the scripts. It's really, really valuable to know exactly what to say as concise as possible when you're in this situation where you feel like somebody might drop off early. So again, download that at drjarodcarter.com/episode 1. And if you're new here, make sure you consider subscribing, because I put out videos just like this very frequently, and they always have a free resource associated with that topic designed to make sure that you get the fastest results possible. Okay, let's dive in. Someone in that scenario, you're not selling packages, but you are trying to sell a commitment, and that's where I would probably take the opportunity to say, like, here's the thing, again, I've helped people do what you're looking to do in this particular situation with your shoulder. I'm very confident I can get you there. Can't make any guarantees, but I'm very confident in it based on what I'm seeing, where you have your pain with, all the stuff we just found in the evaluation. I really do think I'd get you there. And I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't feel that way. So you're just reassuring them, I've done this with others before. They've reached that same goal. They've had the same issue, and I'm confident that you're no different than them and I can get you there, right? So just repeating that and saying, however, I'm not going to get you there if I don't have your commitment to getting 100% back, because this is what happens, especially with, in this case, like something that's a little more on the dangerous side for a joint or for tissues like this is, an aggressive, rapid overhead lift. You've got a joint that's, it's not a real deep-seated joint like the hip, et cetera. You can throw in some clinical stuff to kind of rub a little salt in the wound and say, like, getting like 80% better or just coming in for 3 visits is only going to set you up for this to like go back in the other direction, and just you end up in the same position you're in now.
And so you can say, like, literally, kind of like with the, I'm not going to bring you in for a home program and that's it. Like, this is a scenario, Mr. Jones, where if you're not committed to getting to 100%, not just pain free, but like really injury resistant, then, if you just come in for a few visits, you might get better. Yeah. But if you're not at that injury resistant phase, you're probably over time, because you're going to keep working out and competing, it's going to come back. And honestly, I don't think you should waste your money. If you can't commit to walking this path all the way to injury resistant and pain free, then I don't know that we should move forward, honestly. You can switch it on them. And then that, in a way, if you keep talking about snatches and the thing that's important to them, right? And then you pull back and say, so unless you can commit, you're essentially saying, are you committed? But you're bringing it up in a way that that it's not offensive. You're not like, are you committed? I thought that this was important to you. It's like, I know I can get you there. I'm quite confident in that. But if you aren't committed in walking that path with me, let's not even start, because this is a scenario where you could totally backtrack if we stop before we get to 100%. And so I would try to work on being confident enough and using a little hard to getness as well in those scenarios. Sometimes that's what will do the trick, guys. We all are human and we subconsciously function in that same way. It's the same reason that when someone, says, do you take Blue Cross? When you say, we have a lot of patients that, have Blue Cross, but before we get into insurance and coverage, why don't you tell me what you're dealing, more about what you're dealing with, so I can make sure that we're a good fit for your needs. That last part of that statement is so important, because all of a sudden they went from calling and being like, well, I'm guessing that they're going to want me to come in and that they are a good fit, to being like, oh, well, gosh, I really hope that they are a good fit for my needs. Like, I really want a solution to this thing. And I was hoping that this person, was going to tell me, yes, they can help. And now okay, let me tell you about it. And they're like trying to prove to you that, like, this is a thing you can fix, right? Right. Please, right. So, flipping the script a little bit. Yeah. If you were ever a single guy when you were young, like, and you didn't learn that, I am sorry for you, because you probably struck out a lot more than you had to. And I didn't learn it until I was almost met Jenny. In fact, it's how, let me tell you a little personal story real quick. First time I met Jenny was January 1st, and she was out, and it was daytime, and we were young and having fun. So we were at the bar the next day. A buddy of mine said, hey, let's go watch some football. And she showed up with her friends from the night before, and they're, keeping the party going. And she came over because one of her friends had said, you're in last night's dress. They all crashed at a downtown condo together. You're in last night's dress, wearing flip-flops, last night's makeup. I bet you can't go to the bar and get one of these guys to buy you a drink. And she was like, watch this, so she goes up, and it's a large but fairly empty bar at the time. And me and my buddy are talking to these three guys who are about to travel in Spain, and we're talking about the running of the bulls, which I did one year, which was, I would never do it again, but anyhow, another story. So she comes up in the middle of us with all this bar remaining, and is just kind of butting into the conversation and trying to get herself involved. And they walk off, and she's talking to me and my friend. And because I knew these concepts, after a little while, finally, I never, at that point, I never bought drinks for anyone that I just met at the bar. I think it's the neediness thing, right? It's going back to the hard to get and neediness. And so finally she wasn't getting the offer. And so the bartender comes over, and she's like, can I have a Bud Light and a margarita for her friend? And my buddy, who's he was involved. He's just a super nice guy. He likes to buy everyone drinks, guys and girls. He doesn't care. He's like, put those on my tab. She's like, oh my gosh, you were so sweet. And so after a little while, I'm like, I really like this girl. I want to, ask her out. So instead of asking her out, I said, you know what? I said, Jenny, right before you came up, I was in this big conversation with Gary that I really kind of need to finish. And your friends look like you're never coming back. Can we finish our conversation and then we kind of hook up here before y'all head out, and or something like that. And she was like, oh, and Jenny is very attractive, and so she had never been told that before, and she was, so she goes back to her friends, you know, and then I proceed. I'm like, okay, that was perfect. Now on their way out, I'll ask for a number and blah blah. Well, they don't leave for like 2 hours, and I was so scared that if I went to the bathroom, that they'd leave and I'd missed my chance. I was like, I am not missing my chance, And I was positioned where they had to walk by us to leave. Man, I was about to crack wide open. I just held it for so long. I was like, oh my God. Finally they start to leave. And I was like, hey, Jenny, come here. It's like, hey, I'd love to continue our conversation. Got a number, and the rest is history. And so that is the same concepts we can use in business, throughout our life, even after we're married, and we can still use the hard to get concept. So hopefully that wasn't too much of a deviation from our call today. But I'll tell you, these strategies have been working for me for a long time.
So again, if you want the exact high converting script that you can use with your prospective patients to get maximum buy-in and long-term profit by stopping these kinds of drop-offs, you can download that completely for free at drjarodcarter.com/episode 1. And just a few other things before we wrap up. I love answering questions. I love feedback. So if you have either of those, please drop them in the comments below. Please consider sharing this with any friends or colleagues that you think might get some value out of it or the resource. And finally, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss any of these training episodes or free resources coming your way. Thank you again so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.